Okay, we're going to read Curious George Visits the Library.
Ooh.
This is George. He was a good little monkey and always very curious. Today, George and his friend, the man with the yellow hat, were at the library.
Are you going to show them the picture?
Nah, you can see the pictures. George had never been to the library before. He had never seen so many books before either. Everywhere he looked, people were reading. Some people read quietly to themselves. But in the children's room, the librarian was reading out loud. It was story hour. George loved stories. He sat down with a group of children to listen. The librarian was reading a book about a bunny. George liked bunnies. Do you remember going to story hour at our library?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Behind the librarian was a book about a dinosaur. George liked dinosaurs even more. He hoped she would read it next. But next, the librarian read a book about a train. George tried to sit quietly and wait for the dinosaur book to be read, but sometimes it's hard for a little monkey to be patient. When the librarian started a story about jungle animals, George could not wait any longer. He had to see the dinosaur book. He tiptoed closer. "Look, a monkey!" shouted a girl. The librarian put her finger to her lips. "We must be quiet so everyone can hear," she said nicely. "But there's a monkey," said a boy. The librarian nodded and smiled. "Mm-hmm," she agreed. When she finished reading the jungle story, the librarian reached for the dinosaur book. Where did it go? And where was George? Where do you think George went?
Georgie's in the playroom.
Our Georgie's in the playroom, but where did Curious George the monkey go?
Georgie went in the playroom.
Where do you think this George went?
To the bathroom.
Maybe.
No, to the cafeteria.
Oh.
No, to the car.
Oh, that would be funny.
To the playroom.
Oh, maybe. Let's find out. George was all ready to take the dinosaur book home and read it with his friend when another book caught his eye. This book was about trucks. George wanted to take it home too. But here was a book about elephants. George loved elephants, so he added it to his pile. He's finding some good books at the library. George found so many good books, but soon he had more than he could carry. He leaned against a shelf to rest. Squeak went the shelf. Shh, said a man. Squeak went the shelf again, and it moved. Why, it wasn't really a shelf after all. George had found a special cart for carrying books. What luck! Now George could carry all the books he wanted. He rolled the cart between the shelves and stacked up books about boats and kites and baking cakes. Ooh, you like baking cakes, don't you?
Yeah, we're making one right now.
We
In
are.
the Easy Bake Oven, but he came out not yesterday, but
The day before?
Yeah,
You made a cake in the
the
Easy
day
Bake
before
Oven?
yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we made the cake, so now we're getting ready to frost it.
We are. He climbed higher and higher to reach books about cranes and planes. So what do you know about George? Curious George the monkey.
I know that he's in the playroom. I know that he likes boats. I know that he likes scuba. I know that he likes airplanes. I know that his favorite color is green and blue. And all I know is that, he sleeps in a crib.
Well, that's your brother George, but what do you know about Curious George the monkey?
I know like bananas he found. He's in the playroom. I know it's boats.
So Curious George likes bananas, you said?
Yes.
Yeah. Here, sit up so we can finish the book. At last, George had all the books that he could handle. He could not wait to head home and start reading. And right in front of him was a ramp leading to the door. George was curious. Could he roll the cart all the way home? Down the ramp George went. The cart rolled faster and faster. "Stop!" a librarian volunteer shouted. "Come back here with my cart!" But George was too excited to listen. The cart was picking up speed, and George was having fun. Holy moly, do you think that would be fun? How far do you think he's going to get? That far? Do you think he's going to get all the way out the door?
Yeah.
And all the way home?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
Until crash!
You Great!
George and the cart ran smack into a shelf of encyclopedias. Books flew up in the air, and so did George. He landed in a big pile between O and P. Look at that mess. Oh no, moaned the volunteer when he saw the mess George had made. How am I going to put away all these books? I'd like to borrow this one, a boy said from Story Hour. And I'll take this one, said a girl. With the help from George and the children, the books were sorted in no time. Soon there was just a small pile of George's favorites left. Would you like to take these books home with you? The volunteer asked George. Then he took George to a special desk and helped him get his very own library card. Cool. George was holding his brand new card when his friend arrived with a stack of books of his own. There you are, George.
Crying, that's my baby brother.
That's all right. He said, I see you're ready to check out. George and his friends gave the book to the librarian. She smiled when she saw George's pile. I was wondering where the dinosaur book went, she said. That's the librarian from the Circle Time. It's one of my favorites too. The librarian stamped the books and handed them back to George. With his books under his arm, George waved goodbye to the volunteer, the librarian, and the children from Story Hour. Come see us again, George, the librarian said, waving back. Enjoy your books.
Beep, beep, boo, boo.
And he did. The end.
Look, Mama.
Yeah, you can cut that out and color it in for a bookmark. Hey, what happened when George visited the library in the book?
He stole a lot of books.
He was pushing the cart, didn't he? Yeah.
He went, boo!
Yeah.
A little help.
Oh, no. All right, that was a great book. That was fun reading with you, Winnie.